Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'll be checking out the brand new for 2023 VIOFO WM1 single channel quad high definition 2K dash camera. Last year VIOFO sent me a pre-production version of the WM1. I ran it through a series of tests and gave them feedback on the dash camera. Now that the production unit is available, they sent me a new production version of the WM1 dash camera, an HK4 hardwiring kit, a 64GB VIOFO micro SD card, and also the Bluetooth remote that you can use to lock the video without having to reach for the lock button on the dash camera. In this video, I'll go through an unboxing of the WM1, list the features, give you the results from my power consumption tests, show you some video samples, go through a series of questions and answers that might come up for the WM1, and then give you my final thoughts. So, let's get into it. This video contains several video chapters. If there's one of particular interest to you, jump to the time index listed on the screen here, or expand the video description section and click on the link down there. Hope you enjoy the video. Here are the items in the box for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera. You have, of course, the front dash camera itself, a car charger if you wish to power it through a cigarette lighter adapter port in your vehicle, a Type-C data cable which allows you to connect it to your computer and transfer videos from the micro SD card while still plugged into the dash camera, a trim tool to allow you to route the cables for your vehicle, the WM1 manual itself, 2 windshield static stickers, and a replacement adhesive pad which allows you to replace the one on the front dash camera mount if necessary. Here are the dimensions for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera. Since there is no screen on this dash camera, the form factor of this dash camera is the smallest to date for a camera produced by VIOFO. Looking at the rear of the WM1, we have the GPS module which is built into the windshield mount. You have the power on and off button which also toggles the recording of video. We have the microphone on and off button, the Wi-Fi on and off button, and the video protect button. Moving on to the LED status indicators, number 6 is the recording status indicator. The number 7 LED is the microphone status indicator, and the number 8 LED is the Wi-Fi status indicator. Looking at the right end of the WM1, we have the micro SD card slot, which is number 10 in the illustration, and the number 9 is the USB-C power connection. I'm now going to show you the full range of motion for the front windshield mount for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera. This is fully extended in this direction, and it folds up pretty closely to the actual body of the dash camera in this direction. Again, fully extended this direction and folded in this direction. This is a view of the top of the WM1. On the left you can see the front lens outer case, and you can see the alignment mark. When you install the optional CPL filter, you use that to align the CPL filter with that alignment mark. This is a bottom view of the WM1. On the left we have the lens. In the center we have the heat dissipation block area, and on the right is the access hole for the reset button. The windshield mount for the WM1 is actually made up of 2 pieces, the GPS module which is directly connected to the WM1, and then the plastic clip that adheres to the static sticker or the windshield glass. You can slide the GPS module off of the plastic clip by sliding it to the right, and then you can reinstall it by applying it and then sliding it to the left. Underneath the plastic clip on the GPS module itself is the sticker with the serial number for the WM1. The items not included with the purchase of the WM1, of course you'll need a micro SD card, so you need to select one of up to 256GB in capacity. Then if you wish to operate the WM1 in parking mode, you'll need to purchase the optional VIOFO HK4 3-wire hardwiring kit. If your vehicle's windshield produces a lot of glare or reflections in the recording from the WM1, you can purchase the optional circular polarizing lens filter and attach that to the front lens. I'm now going to demonstrate the installation of the circular polarizing lens filter on the WM1 dash camera. On the outside of the camera we have an alignment mark, and there's also one on the outside of the CPL filter, a very small one at the front edge. And by default you're supposed to align those two. So I'm going to place the filter on the front of the camera lens and then align them. I have found that after installation you may need to rotate this in one direction or another to best eliminate the reflections that come from your windshield. I found that in my vehicle I actually need to slide it just a little bit in that direction, but make sure you fully press it on. It's a friction fit, and if you don't press it on fully, it will appear in the field of view of the dash camera. The last optional accessory for the WM1 is the wireless Bluetooth remote control. You can pair this with the WM1 so that you can press the button if you cannot reach the video protect button based on where it's installed in your vehicle. Here's a feature comparison chart for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera, along with the VIOFO A119 Mini dash camera and a competitor from Vantrue, the Vantrue E1. All three of them use a Novatech processor, but they all use the same image sensor, the Sony Starvis IMX335 5 megapixel image sensor, so they're 2K quad high definition capable dash cameras. Moving on to the lenses, we can see that the WM1 has an f1.8 aperture, 135 degree field of view lens. The A119 Mini has an f1.6 aperture with approximately 140 degree field of view. It's actually slightly less, but the official statement's 140. And the Vantrue E1 has an f1.8 aperture with 160 degree field of view. They all have a capacity of at least 256 gigabytes as their max capacity, although the Vantrue E1 has a 512 gigabyte max capacity for the microSD card. The WM1 is the only one without a screen, although I found that a screen isn't used all that often in real-world situations. The video codec is the manner in which the video stream is encoded within the video file. The default codec for the WM1 is H.264, but you can use a button press to switch it to H.265. The A119 Mini only supports H.264, and the Vantrue E1 only supports the H.265 or HEVC codec. You can see that the WM1 does have limited video resolution selections when compared to the other two. The WM1 does not offer high dynamic range support, but it does offer wide dynamic range support. The A119 Mini and the Vantrue E1 do offer high dynamic range support, and the A119 Mini includes a HDR timer. And as of the editing of this video, Vantrue has released a firmware that also adds a HDR timer to allow you to enable and disable HDR based on the time of day. The WM1 and Vantrue E1 only support 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi connections, while the A119 Mini supports 5 GHz Wi-Fi connections. All three include a GPS logger, and that's built into the windshield mount for all three of them. All three dash cameras use a supercapacitor internally to power the dash camera, which supports a graceful shutdown of the dash camera when external power has been removed. Powering options are the same. You have a cigarette lighter adapter or a hard wiring kit. And for parking modes, the parking modes for the WM1 and the A119 Mini are similar, although the auto event detection buffered amount is 5 seconds before the triggering event with the WM1 versus 15 seconds with the A119 Mini. The Vantrue E1 does come with an extra mode of collision detection, which allows it to go into a deep sleep mode for low power consumption, but it does take 9.5 seconds to wake up and start recording. All three dash cameras use an external power adapter to convert vehicle power of 12 or 24 volts to USB 5 volts, and that is accepted through a USB Type-C port, and that same port is used to connect the dash camera to your computer. Now let's move on to the second page of this feature comparison chart. First item is voice commands. That's a feature that allows you to speak a phrase to the dash camera and it will perform a particular function based on the command that you've issued to it. And that feature is not available currently with the VIOFO WM1 nor with the A119 Mini, but that is available with the Vantrue E1. Moving on to voice notifications, that's where the dash camera will say a phrase when it performs a particular function to alert you to an error condition or a normal completion of a particular task. And that feature is present with the VIOFO WM1 A119 Mini, but it is not available at this point in time with the Vantrue E1. The operating temperature range is very similar for all three dash cameras. For cloud service and internet connectivity, none of these dash cameras offer that feature. Now let's move on to the list of optional accessories. All three dash cameras support the use of an optional Bluetooth remote, although the Vantrue E1 is also one that can lock the video and also turn on and off the audio recording. The CPL filters are offered for all three dash cameras. There's a press-on one for the WM1, a clip-on one for the A119 Mini, and a 40mm screw-on CPL filter for the Vantrue E1. All three dash cameras support the use of a hard wiring kit to provide full functionality of parking modes offered in the dash camera. Moving on to warranty, they all have a default of 12 months, but then it can be increased to 18 months with registration. And the last item on this feature comparison chart is the pricing listed in US dollars. And this is suggested retail pricing. And that's $119.99 for the VIOFO WM1, $139.99 for the VIOFO A119 Mini, and the Vantrue E1 is listed for $149.99. Please keep in mind this is the suggested retail pricing for these dash cameras. Often they are on sale, so make sure you check out the video's description section for links or discount codes that may apply to the purchase of these dash cameras. This section of the video is for those viewers that are interested in how much power the VIOFO WM1 dash camera consumes. Since it is a single channel dash camera, the power consumption is fairly low for a dash camera, but I go through the various normal recording modes in the top section. I note the bit rate on the left side in the configuration section, and then I show you the power information, and then over in the notes section, I also note the megabits per second for the video that's recorded in normal recording mode. In the parking mode sessions, I go through those, which is probably of most interest to the viewers, and then in a moment I'll show you my time estimates for those parking modes. In the lower sections, I look at the power consumed with the WM1 turned off. You can press the record button with a long press and it will turn off, but it doesn't fully stop consuming power. So if you arrive at home and turn off your dash camera using that method, this is how much power it will consume either from the vehicle's battery through the hardwiring kit or the cigarette lighter adapter, or from the dash cam battery pack you're using to power it. And then at the very bottom is just the cigarette lighter adapter and hardwiring kit amount of power they consume without even being plugged into the WM1 dash camera. Using the data that I gathered in the previous screen for the parking modes, I use the average watts consumed to then project how long they should last in parking mode if powered by a dash cam battery pack of the particular capacity noted at the top of that column. The 76.8 watt hour battery packs are somewhat older battery packs at this point in time, and some of the newer battery packs have the larger capacity of 96 watt hours. For auto event detection with no motion, the longevity on the 76.8 watt hour dashcam battery pack is 1 day, 19 hours, 53 minutes is the estimate. And for a 96 watt hour, it's 2 days, 6 hours, 51 minutes. If there's a lot of motion going on, that time reduces a little bit in auto event detection, but not by much. Moving on to time-lapse, I tested at 10 frames per second, which should consume the most power, but there are lower frames per second configuration options. But for time-lapse, it was 1 day, 22 hours, 49 minutes for a 76.8 watt hour pack, and a 96 watt hour pack is 2 days, 10 hours, 32 minutes, which is the longest projection in this particular estimate here for parking modes. Moving on to low bit rate, this is my preferred configuration for parking mode since it records video and audio. And you can see that it records 1 day, 19 hours, 38 minutes potentially with a 76.8 watt hour pack. And then for a 96 watt hour pack, it's 2 days, 6 hours, 32 minutes. Since the WM1 is a single channel dash camera, its power consumption needs are fairly low, so you get some decent parking mode recording times based on my time estimates. In this section, I'm going to show you some sample footage from the VIOFO WM1 and some competing dash cameras. Please remember that the vehicle that these are installed in is an ex-police vehicle with 119,000 miles on the odometer, and the windshield is not perfect on the outside, so remember at night you'll see some of those artifacts in the image, and I cleaned the windshield inside and out before each of the trips to gather footage. When I first started the review of the VIOFO WM1, I still had a VIOFO A229 Duo installed, and here's some sample footage from the daytime facing away from the sun. Both of them have CPL filters installed, and both of their WDR features are turned off. I only had the A229 installed for a short period of time until I switched over to the other comparison cameras. I found the use of the optional CPL filter has been very beneficial in my vehicle. The angle of my car's front windshield produces a lot of reflections and glare into the camera during the daytime. At night, I do remove the CPL filter because it does reduce the brightness of the video footage. Moving on to the next comparison, I have some rainy day footage with the VIOFO WM1 in the top part of the screen and a competing model from VIOFO, the A119 Mini, on the bottom. Both have CPL filters installed. The WDR feature is turned off on the WM1 and the HDR feature is turned off on the A119 Mini. Looking at the field of view, you can see the WM1 is just a little bit wider than the A119 Mini, And now we're going to be switching over to the Vantrue E1 dash camera that I also had in the vehicle. And those have very similar fields of view. In this case though, the Vantrue E1 did have its HDR feature turned on since that was selected by the resolution setting at that point in time based on the firmware installed. Here's that same intersection at night. I have two WM1s installed. The top one has WDR turned off and the bottom one has WDR turned on. If you look at the road signs that are illuminated on the right side, I have to say the WDR feature in the WM1 really doesn't handle the contrasting bright versus dark areas as well as I would like it to. Now on the bottom I have the VIOFO A119 Mini with the HDR feature turned on, and as we saw, WDR doesn't seem to make much difference with the WM1, at least in this particular situation, but if you look at the illuminated road signs on the right, you can actually see them much better with the A119 Mini with the HDR feature turned on. Now switching over to the Vantrue E1 on the lower section of this example, same intersection pass that I made before, and the HDR feature turned on in the E1 makes it have a lot of noise in the image, but you can see the illuminated road signs on the side much better than the WM1 with the WDR feature turned on or off. Here's a continuation of the WM1 footage, and at night it creates decent footage within the field of view of the headlights. And one thing to note here is because the CPL filter has been removed, the reflection of my infotainment system is present in the upper section of this video from the WM1, but overall, pretty decent footage for at night. In this section, I'll be comparing how well each of the dash cameras in the vehicle handles a particular roadside sign that's backlit at night. And we can see that the VIOFO WM1 with WDR turned on or off doesn't really make any difference between those settings. It's just a big white blob. The VIOFO A119 Mini with the HDR feature turned on handles that sign pretty well. The Vantrue E1 with the HDR feature turned on handles the backlit sign reasonably well, but not as well as the A119 Mini, but better than the WM1s with WDR turned on or off. But overall, the Vantrue E1 with the HDR feature turned on at night seems to result in a lot of poor quality video footage with a lot of noise in the video being recorded. This is the second pass on this same road segment. This time I have the HDR features turned off on the VIOFO A119 Mini and the Vantrue E1. You can see that all four dash cameras basically produce a white blob with this backlit sign. As my vehicle continues down this road, you can see that all four dash cameras were able to capture decent quality video footage. Now that the Vantrue E1 has its HDR feature disabled, its video footage contains far less noise than it did when the HDR feature was enabled. This is also to show that the Vantrue E1 video noise issue when its HDR feature is enabled is not due to its installation location or my vehicle's windshield. Now let's move on to a nighttime license plate capture comparison. For privacy reasons, any of the license plate captures that are readable will have two of the middle characters blurred. This first example is with my vehicle's headlights shining directly below the license plates of the two cars located directly in front of my vehicle while stopped at the stoplight. Both vehicles' license plates are readable in the video from all four dash cameras. After the stoplight changes, the vehicles move to the point that allows my vehicle's headlights to shine directly on the license plate of the vehicle that is located directly in front of my vehicle. Neither of the VIOFO WM1 dash cameras were able to capture a readable license plate in this situation. The VIOFO A119 Mini with its HDR feature enabled was capable of capturing the license plate. The Vantrue E1 was still able to capture the license plate in a readable form, but the amount of noise in the video image has increased with this lighting situation. I reviewed several hours of additional nighttime footage to see if I could find a license plate capture example with my vehicle and the other vehicle moving in opposite directions. That resulted in a readable plate capture, but unfortunately I was not able to find any. Now let's check out some questions and answers for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera. First one being, what type of power adapters are available for the VIOFO WM1? The WM1 package includes a cigarette lighter adapter to power the dash camera for normal recording modes. If you wish to take advantage of the parking modes of this dash camera, you need to obtain the optional 3-wire HK4 hardwiring kit. It is used to trigger the parking mode when the ignition switch or accessory power is turned off, and it will exit parking mode when the accessory power is turned back on when you start your vehicle. Both of those powering options support 12 volt and 24 volt systems. The 3-wire hardwiring kit has a low voltage cutoff feature, which will turn off power to the WM1 when the vehicle system voltage goes below a pre-selected value. The next question is, why is the CPL filter creating a dark area on the edges of the video being recorded? If the CPL filter has only been partially pressed onto the front of the lens, it will be visible in the edges of the video being recorded. You must fully press on the optional CPL filter to make sure it does not appear within the field of view. Now let's move on to the next question. What does the VIOFO Bluetooth wireless remote do? The Bluetooth wireless remote is a single button remote. When you press the button, it'll cause the dash camera to place the currently recording video into the read-only directory that corresponds to that video recording type. Pressing the button on the Bluetooth remote is the same as pressing the video protect button on the dash camera. If you cannot conveniently or without distraction reach the video protect button on the dash camera, purchasing the optional Bluetooth remote can make it safer for you to reach the Bluetooth remote button and still lock the video as necessary while driving. Moving on to the next question, what can you do or configure using the buttons on the VIOFO WM1 dash camera? While video is recording, you can short press the record button and that will stop the recording video. You can short press the video protect button and it will lock the currently recording video. Moving on to the button presses that require the dash camera not to be recording video. So you'll hear a repetitive double beep while it's in this mode, indicating that it is not recording video. When it's in this mode, if you short press the record button, it will resume video recording. If you press the mic and the video protect buttons together and hold them, it will reset the camera settings to their default settings and the WM1 will reboot. If you long press the video protect button, this will result in the microSD card being formatted. And the last entry in this section, I have found that if you perform 2 short presses of the video protect button while the video is not recording, it will first resume video recording and then it will lock that video. Then moving on to the last section in general, when you long press the record button, it will power on or off the dash camera. When you short press the microphone button, it will disable or enable audio recording. Moving on to the long press of the microphone button, I found this to be an undocumented feature. It will toggle the video codec being used by the WM1 to record the videos. It will toggle between H.264 and H.265 each time you long press the microphone button. Next, we have the short press of the Wi-Fi button that will cause a photo to be taken by the WM1. A long press of the Wi-Fi button will toggle Wi-Fi on or off. And a long press of the Wi-Fi button and the video protect button will turn the Bluetooth pairing mode on for the WM1 dash camera so you can pair it with the Bluetooth wireless remote. If you have a question about the VIOFO WM1 dash camera that I have not addressed in this video, make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section and I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. Here are my final thoughts for the VIOFO WM1 one-channel dash camera. Let's start off with the pros for the dash camera. It's a 2K quad high definition 2560 by 1440 30 frames per second capable dash camera. It also can record in 1920 by 1080 resolution if so desired. It has a small size which allows it to be installed behind the front center rear view mirror or on any alternative location on the sides or the rear of the vehicle, and it doesn't consume a lot of space. One other benefit I consider it to have is the fact that there's no LCD screen. A dash camera screen isn't used very often, so to have a dedicated amount of space dedicated to a screen isn't required. That also helps lower the price of the product by not including a screen that isn't used all that often. It has 3 parking modes: auto event detection, time-lapse, and low bitrate, and in one of those 3 parking modes you should find a solution that will meet your needs. And since it is a single channel dash camera, its power consumption in parking mode is fairly low, which makes it a great candidate for long-term parking recording needs. Next item on the list of pros is the fact that the WM1 includes voice notifications. It's nice that the dash camera will alert you to either error conditions or the completion of a task with a voice notification, especially if the dash camera is installed in a location you can't see the status LEDs.
Recording started. Video protected.
The last thing on my list of pros for the WM1 is at product launch time there's promotional pricing available if you purchase it from the Amazon.com website. There's a $30 coupon available. You'll receive a free CPL filter which is worth $17 US. And after the purchase from Amazon.com, you take these Amazon order number and submit a support ticket via the VIOFO.com website, and you'll obtain a free 64GB VIOFO microSD card. Now for my list of cons for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera. First item on the list of cons is no high dynamic range support. It has wide dynamic range, but as I found in my testing, wide dynamic range doesn't really handle the contrasting bright and dark areas as well as I would like, or at all in many situations, at least based on my testing. It'd be nice to see the WM1 include the HDR feature like its sibling, the A119 Mini, and other dash cameras based on the same Sony Starvis IMX335 image sensor. The next con is the fact that it only supports 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi connections. It'd be nice to see if it would support 5 and 5.8 GHz Wi-Fi connections for faster transfer speeds for the video files off the dash camera using the VIOFO app. The next con for this dash camera is its pricing. The price for the VIOFO WM1 is $120 US, while the A119 Mini from VIOFO is listed for $140 US. It's only $20 difference, and depending on where you need to install the dash camera, the size factor of the WM1 may be its benefit and makes it the best choice for that installation. And for the extra $20, you get a dash camera with a screen if that's important to you. It also supports high dynamic range video recording, which works very well at night. You get a dash camera that supports 5 GHz Wi-Fi connections, so it will make the video file transfers much quicker. So for the extra $20, it may be worthwhile to purchase the A119 Mini because of the additional features. But again, if the size factor of the dash camera is important, the WM1 may be the better choice for you. Please remember the prices listed here are the suggested retail prices for the dash cameras. There are often sales available for these dash cameras or discount codes, so please check out the video's description section to see if I have affiliate links that will be associated with a discount or a discount code to make the price for this product cheaper than listed here. And the last item in my list of cons for the VIOFO WM1 dash camera is the fact that it's still using the older Sony Starvis IMX335 image sensor. That's not technically a con, that's a very good image sensor, but newer dash cameras that are being released at this point in time are starting to come out with Sony Starvis 2 image sensors, which may yield better image quality going forward. So at some point I'd like to see a revision to the WM1, including a Sony Starvis 2 image sensor. If you've made it to this point in the video, I'd like to thank you for spending your time watching my review of the VIOFO WM1 dash camera. It does take a lot of time and effort to gather the video footage, perform the power consumption tests, edit the video together, and gather any technical information about the dash camera. If you appreciate that information and making an informed decision about your dash camera, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload new videos just like this one. If you are considering the purchase of the VIOFO WM1 dash camera or any other dash camera from VIOFO, make sure you check out the video description section for links to the product on Amazon, Blackbox My Car, or VIOFO's website. And if you use one of my affiliate links to purchase the dash camera, I will make a small commission on that purchase, but at no extra cost to you. And it's a great way of supporting the time and effort that goes into making these videos. So once again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.